Hi guys, welcome back to Hilltop Farm. I'm Jay and welcome to another of our Wiccan lessons. This is lesson number 9. Now we're going to get straight into the lesson today. We've got a lot to cover. Today we're covering the moon and the phases of the moon, and there'll be more coming out before next week's lesson that you also have to cover. So there'll be more about that later in the lesson, so listen out for that. The moon and Wicca. Throughout history, there have always been people who have paid attention to the moon and its various phases. From ancient times, our ancestors knew that their affairs were influenced by nature's cycles. Being aware of the moon's cycles and the Earth's seasonal changes has always been important to us. The ancients chose to focus the lunar energy on their goals and objectives, and these traditional concepts are still used in modern times for goal setting and self-empowerment. Farmers' almanacs are based on the lunar cycles. The phases of the moon were very important to the farmer, who timed his harvesting according to them. But even before settled agriculture, the moon phases served as a calendar for hunter-gatherer societies. Even our modern calendar divides the year up into months or moons. The moon's reflective energy has the power to affect our moods and emotions. People with emotional or mental imbalances may experience their inner states more intensely around the full moon, and often emotional issues escalate. Lovers find the full moon romantic and sensually inspiring. The moon is more than a beautiful bulb in the sky, casting its light across everything it touches. To many Wiccans, she represents the goddess. We use her natural energy in magic when performing spells and rituals. It is important to know when the moon is in the correct phase, or your spell may have no effect, or even worse, it may have an effect you did not want. We witches, as well as other sensitive occultists, find the full moon empowering and hold our most important ritual at this time. The full moon and the waxing moon are good times for positive magic. The waning moon and the dark of the moon are good times for negative magic. As a general guide, the new moon is a good time to start new things, things that require time to develop. The full moon is the best time to announce new things, especially things to do with our emotions. This is also an ideal time for ritual and other spiritual celebrations and events. Knowing the moon phases can help you plan and prepare for change, new beginnings and endings. Rituals can be enhanced by using the moon and its cycles for specific purposes. Having a goal and being aware of the atmosphere you wish to create can greatly affect the outcome of your rituals. Working with the moon's energy increases your own personal power and supports your intention. We always see the same face of the moon because the moon's day is the same length as its year. This is because the moon's rotational period is the same as its orbital period. The phase of the moon, or the different shapes of the moon, are caused by the different angles from which we see the illuminated part of its surface. Half of the moon is always illuminated. We just cannot always see all of the illuminated part of the moon. When the Earth, Sun and Moon are nearly in a straight line, with the Earth in the middle, we have a full moon. When the Earth, Sun and Moon are nearly in a straight line, with the moon in the middle, we have a dark moon. Just after and before a dark moon, the dark portion of the moon is slightly illuminated by earthshine. Earthshine is caused by sunlight reflected from the earth to the moon and back to the earth. The new waxing moon, or the maiden moon. When the moon first appears at the start of its cycle, it has the form of the crescent. The new moon is used for new beginnings. It can be used for personal growth, healing, and blessing of new projects. This is the time to focus on your needs and do some serious thinking about your goals and objectives. As it grows bigger, it is said to be waxing. Technically, the term waxing refers to the 2-week period between the new moon and the full moon. It is used for attraction and growth magic, particularly between the new moon and the first quarter. It is in the process of building up, so now is the time to push things forward to manifestation. It is a growing period, a time to act and to be strong. The waxing moon is an excellent time to perform rituals that add to your blessings, such as prosperity, protection, health, etc. Use the moon's influence at this time to make constructive changes. Full moon, or the mother moon. When the moon reaches the second quarter of its orbit, the entire daylight side is visible and appears to us as a circle. This is good for all types of magic and power raising, but it is generally used for protection, divination, planning, and release. This is good for all types of magic and power raising, but it is generally used for protection, divination, planning, and releasing. The best results can be achieved the night prior to the full moon, the night of the full moon, and the following night. The full moon is an emotional time. Feelings are more intense and powerful. One may also be prone to accidents and danger. Don't allow your emotions to control you. Be aware that what you think creates how you feel, and how you feel creates your emotional state. To use the power of the full moon to your advantage, remain in control. This is a time of fertility, creativity, sensitivity, and psychic awareness. The waning moon, the crone moon. The waning moon is the time period from the full moon to the dark of the moon. The visible portion of the moon dwindles to a crescent, and we get ready to start the cycle all over again. The waning moon is used for banishing things that are no longer needed or wanted in our lives, such as bad habits, negative energies, and ailments. It is a time to make plans to eliminate old negative habits, ideas, and attitudes that no longer serve your highest good. It is also a time to banish illness, bad relationships, and bad luck. Get ready to clear obstacles and to get rid of unwanted things. It may also be a time of introspection and inner healing. Dark of the moon, also the crone moon. The moon lies between the earth and the sun. Because the sunlit side is away from the earth, the moon is invisible to us. The dark moon is not normally used for magic, although it can sometimes be used for very heavy banishing work or meditation, and it is an excellent time to look within. All magic works best when our rituals are timed to coincide with the appropriate moon phase. Each phase is a special time when spells with certain qualities are stronger and more likely to work. And on the handout that you will get with this lesson, I've just put a little table down the bottom of that page that lists the waxing, waning, full moon, new moon, dark of the moon. New moon, in case you're wondering, is actually It's really only one day, and it's the first day after the dark of the moon, when the first little crescent crack of light appears. That's the new moon. So, but anyway, they're down there. Tells you what they're used for and how long they go for. So, like I said, with the new moon, it's the first night that's there. It's to start new projects and ideas. And as I say, it's broken down there for you, so it's quite easy to follow. You've heard the term once in a blue moon. This is an expression we use in everyday speech, meaning not very often. But what exactly is a blue moon? It is the second full moon in a month. The average interval between full moons is 29.5 days, whilst the length of an average month is roughly 30.5 days. This makes it very unlikely that any given month will contain 2 full moons, though it does sometimes happen. On average, there will be 41 months that have 2 full moons in it every century. So you could say that once in a blue moon actually means every 2.5 years. That is averaged out. We recently had 2 blue moons back to back, and that rarely happens. It happens when there is a blue moon. The first blue moon of the year hits in February because it's only 28 days. It then repeats itself in March. So yeah, we had blue moon February and March, which is even more unusual. That's something special again. But there is a separate ritual you do for a blue moon, and that's something we will cover in another lesson completely. You won't need it right now anyway. Magic and astrology. Dark moons always occur in the same astrological sign that the sun is in, and the full moon is always in the opposite sign, 6 signs away. For example, when the sun is in Virgo, the dark moon is also in Virgo, and the full moon is in Pisces, Virgo's opposite. There is not enough room here to go into astrology, but it is a good idea generally to make sure that aspects are favourable for you when you plan to do a major working. Just as you would check the weather before planning an event, it's a good idea to check your up-and-coming horoscope as well. And again, in the flyer I've put down all the signs of the zodiac and their relevant dates. And signs of the zodiac are the same dates, north and south, southern hemisphere, so that table is universal for everybody. Avoid starting any magical working when the moon is void off course. This means that the moon is in between astrological signs and the energies are not well defined. Also, avoid working magic on an eclipse. This will cause a fairly high degree of Aunt Claras, as I call them, what we call magical workings that have gone awry. Those of you that don't understand the significance of doing an Aunt Clara are not old enough to have watched Bewitched in the 60s and 70s. If you are old enough to remember, you'll know exactly what doing an Aunt Clara means. Just to clarify this particular thing, when you're doing a ritual to do with the moon, when you're doing, say for example, a full moon ritual, you have to take into account which month you're dealing with and obviously which hemisphere you're dealing with. So at the moment we are we are in June, so say we're talking about the June full moon. Just as an example of that, say we're talking about doing a ritual this month in June, okay, you have to take into account it's the June full moon, and we'll deal with the southern hemisphere just for this exercise. Alright, so the June full moon is about Mother Earth, the oak moon. After this lesson, I'll be posting up another brief special about this particular moon phase, so you'll learn all about it then. So this will perhaps make more sense after you've seen that. This month's full moon ritual is based on the topic, if you like, for June. Then let's just say, just for this exercise, that this year the full moon's on the 29th of June. So what you do is, we're basing it on the Mother Earth ritual for June for the Southern Hemisphere, the full moon ritual I mean. Then we have to look at this table and work out what star sign we're in for that period of time, which would make it Cancer. Alright, so this year, if it was on the 29th, you would say that the full moon, the June full moon, is in Cancer. Then you have to find out from this, it's getting very complicated now, I know. From this, you look at Cancer. This is a zodiacs of the full moon reference sheet. Again, all this will have links below so you can print them all out or download them at least onto your computer. So don't panic. It sounds much more complicated than it is. For the Southern Hemisphere, you've got the full moon ritual on the 29th. It's based on the Mother Earth Oak Moon ritual for June for the Southern Hemisphere. You've ascertained that it falls within Cancer. Cancer on here, on this, tells you the moon in Cancer is supportive and nurturing. It is wonderful for strengthening relationships and friendships between people. So they're the qualities of the full moon in Cancer. If they were in, say it was earlier on in the month, it would be in Gemini, which is, this is a most consistent time with anything started now, subject to change from outside forces. Without going into any detail, you automatically know that changes and spells that you might want to do in a full moon ritual in the latter part of June are probably going to be more successful than the earlier part of June, just based on the star sign that they're in. Right? So you have to take all these things into account. Now, what the point they were getting at, and I'm not talking about the eclipse, we all know what an eclipse is, but when it's talking about when it's neither one thing nor the other, if, for example, June's full moon were to fall on June 21st, for example, or June 20th, that is right on the cusp of Gemini and Cancer, right on the edge. And that's where it becomes dangerous, because you're dealing with two very different outcomes, and you're dealing at a time where there's sort of a change in the cosmos, if you like. So that's where you can, your spell can go awry and things can do an Aunt Clara, because you're not, technically not in one sign or the other. It's on the cusp of the two. So all this, it's not just a case of casting spells, you know. You've got to do all your research to find out what sort of full moon it is, when it is, what star signs are going to have an influence on it. Lots of things to take into account, because as I say, you can bank on minimum of 12 full moons a year, and each one of them has a different meaning just because of the month it falls in, because it's seasonal. Everything's based on the seasons, so it all falls in an order of that. Then it depends on when in the month it is as to what star sign it falls under, and then, as I say, you then have to take into account if it falls on the cusp, which is a day either side of the changeover, then you could be in trouble. And I will just say too that even though you might not be on the cusp, the closer you are to the changeover, the more shades of grey there are going to be. If you're firmly right in the middle of Cancer, or right in the middle of Leo, when you perform these rituals, then this is much more likely, the description on here is much more likely to be the case. The closer you get to another star sign, then that star sign starts to take an influence. Which is why, for example, not all Pisces are the same. The ones right in the middle are probably through and through Pisces. But, you know, you've got them that are at the end of Pisces that are starting to get the influence of Aries, and you've got some at the beginning of Pisces that have got the influence of Aquarius. So it's shades of grey, it's a spectrum, and the timing of your rituals based on the full moon are also on a spectrum. So research, and this is why it's so important. Magic does work, it really does work, but you have to do your research. It's dangerous in the wrong hands, because a spell that might work for one person at a particular time, you go and try it a month later and it all goes haywire because it's the wrong time. So you have to do your homework. If you must do an increased spell during a waning moon, you'll need a black candle and burn it for at least 15 minutes. First, to create a vacuum to draw what you want into it. It won't work as well, but you can try if you're desperate. Now we move on to the triple goddess. In many modern pagan traditions, the triple goddess in the form of maiden, mother, crone is honoured. It's important to remember that the concept of a single goddess representing the maiden, mother and crone is primarily a neo-pagan and Wiccan one. Most ancient cultures did not have maiden, mother and crone figures. In modern Wicca, however, and many pagan religions, the maiden is seen as the virginal young woman or girl who has not yet awakened. She is all about enchantment and new beginnings, youthful ideas and enthusiasm. She is associated with the waxing phase of the lunar cycle as the moon grows from dark to full. The mother is the next phase in a woman's life. She is fertility, abundance and growth. The gaining of knowledge. She is fulfillment, sexual, social and emotional, and she is represented by the full moon. Springtime and early summer are her domain. As the earth becomes green and fertile, so does the mother. A woman does not have to have biological children to embrace the role of mother. Finally, the crone aspect is the final stage. She is the hag and the wise woman, the darkness of night and eventually death. She is the waning moon, the chill of winter, the dying of the earth. Okay, now celebrating an Esprit ritual. As I may have mentioned before, but I can't remember, the full moon rituals are considered and called espeits, whereas like Yule and Samhain and so forth, they're the Sabbats, and they're different again. So we're talking about the espeite ritual, which is the full moon ritual. This is the basic ritual that I'm about to go through, but each month it has to be modified to suit the topic, if you like, of that month. And as I say, I'll get into that later. This is the basic ritual. In addition to the 8 Sabbats observed every year, many pagans celebrate a regular espeite, in which magic is performed and the gods and goddesses of the tradition are honoured. Most covens and groups meet at least once a month and time this ceremony so it coincides with the full moon. The word espeite is of French origin, which loosely translates to frolic joyfully. In addition to joyful frolicking, this is a time to commune with the gods of your tradition. Full moon ritual. After you've set up your altar with the normal things that you set up on an altar, you can choose your altar cloth, whatever you're drawn to for the full moon. Lots of people tend to use satin material. They'll use silvers or blacks or those sorts of colours, but as I said, you do whatever you want to do. So once you've done that and you've got your altar set up, okay, visualise your circle or bubble. This will establish the space as sacred. You'll need a bowl of water and a moon candle for the altar. This is traditionally a white, unscented pillar-style candle. Adorn your altar with lunar symbols, mirrors, silver ribbons, white crystals, and feel free to substitute the names of any deities you are drawn to in this incantation, or do as written below. Turn to the altar and hold your arms open wide, tilting your head so that your face is skyward. After all, this is a celebration honouring the full moon. Say, Goddess of the moon, Queen of the night, Keeper of our mysteries, Mistress of the tides, you who are ever changing and yet always constant, I ask that you guide me with your wisdom, help me grow with your knowledge, and hold me in your arms. At this time, light the moon candle and take a moment to reflect upon the gifts you have in your life. Hold the bowl of water to the sky and say, the moon is the symbol of the mother, and she watches over us day and night. She brings the changing tide and the shifting night, the flow that changes our bodies, and the passion of lovers to their beloved. Her wisdom is great and all-knowing, and we honour her tonight. Keep your watchful eyes upon us, Great Mother, until the cycle returns once more, and bring us to the next full moon in your love and light. Take a few moments to think about the things in your life which have changed in the past moon cycle. Are there people who have come into your world that you're thankful for? Have you ended a toxic relationship? Have you experienced good fortune at work? Meditate on all the things you have to be thankful for, as well as the things you would like to see change for you by the next full moon. When you are ready, close the circle and end the ritual. If you choose, you can move into healing rites or magical workings. And then it's after that you can either have a feast, or you can just have some espeite cookies and some mulled wine or something. It's completely up to you. But that's what you do. Now, as I say, following this video, there will be a release of what to do with the June full moon, and you incorporate those ideas into the ritual and into your altar and your thoughts and all those processes. Now, this week's assignment, what I want you to do, I want you to plan a full moon ritual based on what you have learnt so far in this lesson. Remember to incorporate the essence of this month's ritual by watching this month's full moon special, which is what I was just talking about. Then perform it on the next full moon. If you're in the Northern Hemisphere, I still want you to do this. That's all for this week's lesson. As I said, quite a long one, and there's more to follow. Down below in the description under this video, there will be a link so you can download this lesson 9 handout. You can have it on your computer or print it out. I always think it's better to print it out because then you can highlight bits and you can have it with you when you're performing rituals or whatever, if you need to, just as a guide. So I like to have the printed out version as well. So it's there for you down in the thing below. As I said, there's also zodiacs of the full moon. Okay, that is also in the description down below. There will be a link to that. And as I say, this basically tells you that when you're doing any sort of spell workings within a zodiac, and in the case of this, it's your full moon ritual, it then tells you what is going to be relevant to that particular star sign at that particular time of year or time of the month or whatever. And do bear in mind what I said earlier, that you do have to take into account where within that month of that zodiac it falls, and the closer it gets to the ends, the more it starts to take on qualities of the next zodiac because of that sliding scale I spoke of. And do remember that performing ritual on the cusps of your zodiacs can be dodgy. And it depends on what you're doing. But just consult it at all times. So you can print that out. That's in the description down below as well. Also down below there will be a link to the whole series of Wiccan lessons. So if you just happen to have clicked on this video and it's your first one, then you can click on the playlist. You can binge watch all you like and try and catch up on all the lessons. So there's a link for that down there. There's also a link to our Patreon page, and there will be a link to our affiliate with the book depository. If you need to get any books on Wicca or any subject, come to that matter, go through the affiliate and purchase through there. They're based in the UK, very reasonable price with free worldwide shipping, and every time you spend some money, we get a few shekels thrown our way to help our channel bring you these videos. So remember, with your full moon ritual, every month you have to consult the monthly full moon special, because it will tell you what the theme for that month full moon is. So look out for that coming out for this one. For this month, should be out very shortly after this video is released. So if you like this video, give us a big thumbs up, hit subscribe if you're not subscribed to the channel, and hit the bell so that you can be notified when we do release a video. And until next time, it's goodbye from Hilltop Farm. See ya!